Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a very important one of which I know that you guys have been waiting for a while now, how you can start making money from your poetry. Sound good to you? I should hope so. Let's take a look. So, you've decided to take your poetry and what is perhaps just a hobby to the next level. Time to start thinking of exciting and new ways to contribute to your monthly bills. And yes, let me be clear, it will only just be a contribution. Unless you're incredibly lucky, it's quite difficult to live off of poetry money. So let's take a look at different ways you can do that. I will be listing these items. I will be listing this from most obvious right down to the most creative ways that you can do this. So make sure you stick until the end, and without any further rambling from me, let's get into the video. Okay, so first, selling books. Let's start with the most obvious. Publish your work. Now, whether that's going down the traditional route of publishing through a house or self-publishing, that's up for you and fate to decide. But don't get me wrong, my friends, both are equally difficult when done right. Getting noticed by a publishing house, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of emails, and unfortunately a lot of rejection. No matter who you are, that's just part and parcel of it. So please make sure you are prepared for that. Self-publishing, on the other hand, can be as easy as uploading your book to a printer and selling it. Simple. But of course, if you're going to do it the right way, there is so much more to it than that. And the actual selling and marketing of that book takes more out of you than the writing of it did. It's a lot of hard work. You don't just upload to Amazon and, well, hey, you're counting the dollars. It actually took me years to get that bestseller title. But I won't go into too much depth on how to do that. If you want to know about how to properly self-publish a book, let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll do a separate video about that. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, next up in the list is teach/workshops. Now this is the first topic that I'm going to cover in this list that takes you away from your writing desk and out into the world. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is money. Knowledge is valuable. Take everything you've learnt about poetry and teach it to others. All you need is a laptop or computer and a means of hosting this workshop online and you're good to go. You can even use Zoom, I guess. In fact, yeah, you can use Zoom. If you do decide to use a third-party website, there's some really good ones out there for workshops and courses, online courses. Make sure you're weighing up the costs to the profit and make sure you're charging enough to make the money rather than losing money. We're not here to lose money. Again, same principle applies if you're going to do this in person when it's safe to do so. When you're hiring out a space to hold this workshop, make sure you're weighing up the costs to the profits and you're charging for a spot on your course appropriately. Just don't undersell is what I'm trying to say. Doing it in person, you are going to need a specific space to do this and it's not going to come free. So don't lose money. I'm trying to drill that into you. Don't lose money. Try to find somewhere that is poetry related or at the very least literary related. And when you're arranging and signing contracts or whatever, you know, agreeing to use this space, make sure you're allowed to put a poster in the window and advertise. That's the reason why I suggest finding somewhere that's poetry related, so that the people that are coming in and out of that venue are already poets and into poetry. It just makes your life so much easier. Okay, next up on the list may be quite an obvious one to veteran poets, but may not be so obvious to the newcomers here on the channel. There are prizes and contests to be entered that give you a monetary prize, meaning it gives you money. So let me talk about that. I discussed briefly in my Insta Poetry Scam video about not paying too much, if anything at all, with these contests. Now, I personally feel that the most I'll go to is £1 per submission. I don't necessarily mind paying to submit to contests and giveaways. It's what I have a problem is paying to be part of a book. But when you're paying a submission fee of £1 or whatever you are willing to stretch to, a lot of the time that £1 goes into a pot. A third of that pot will then be the prize money, and then 2/3 of that pot will likely go to the organisation, which I don't mind doing, because, you know, they're a business at the end of the day. They're doing what they can to promote poetry, and they're giving away money to a special winner. So I don't necessarily mind too much when it's a contest submission fee. It's just when you're paying to be part of a book I don't agree with. Also, something I will do, and I will recommend you guys doing when paying a submission fee, I will always do extensive research on the organisation that is running the contest, as well as the judges. More importantly, the judges actually. Google them, read up on them, find out what kind of poetry they like, find out what kind of poetry they've published. It just gives you it helps you make an informed decision on what your chances are to win this contest or giveaway. If you're a writer of depression, or, you know, mental health, and you're submitting to a poetry contest about nature, you're basically throwing money away. A lot of the terms and conditions will tell you what the poem has to be, but I'm just making a point. I'm over exaggerating a point. So do some research too. Give yourself the best opportunity of making money from that £1. Okay, I don't know what number we're on now because I haven't been keeping track, but let's talk about selling merch. Probably one of the easiest, if not the easiest way of making money to help ease that burden of bills is selling merchandise. So things like posters, framed poems, t-shirts, well, clothing. I'm just going through my shop at the minute. Obviously books we've covered, but stuff like that, merchandise. Not only does selling merch put a bit of money in your pocket, which we all love, it also gives your most loyal and supportive fans or supporters a chance to show off to their friends and show you how much they appreciate you and your work. So this is a great thing to do. I'd recommend it. There's so many different ways of doing it now, such as Shopify, Represent, Printful. There's so many different avenues you can go down, which I'll leave up to you to research which one you feel is best for you. You can, of course, always order yourself, items of your merch. You see me wearing it a lot in videos, which, funnily enough, I'm not wearing in this one. You can always order yourself some and take them to your workshops and sell at your workshops. You can take them to your appearances, which I'll cover in a minute. Market stalls, again, I'll cover that in a moment. And it's just a great way of doing it. So sell merchandise. Okay, so we're on the home stretch now. 3 more to go. Appearances and talks. Once you've started to make a name for yourself in the poetry community, you may be asked to make appearances and hold talks, or take part in celebratory events. And my friends, if you're very lucky, poetry festivals. I think that's all of our dreams, to be invited to a poetry festival, right? Well, at least it's one of mine anyway. If you find yourself being contacted to take part in appearances or talks, I highly recommend you find yourself an agent who can take care of negotiations for you. If you are being contacted by organisations to do this, it will be a lot easier to find yourself an agent and convince them to represent you, because you are actually bringing the work to them and you are showing that, you know, they will be able to find you work because it's already there. But anyway, yes, make sure you get an agent, because they will make sure that you get paid the right amount. Nice and simple, that one. Next up is offering a editorial service. Now finally, here's something you can do that brings you back to your desk and back to your love of poetry. But do beware that you absolutely need a love for poetry to do this, because it's just as time consuming as writing your own poetry, and at the end of the day it's not your name that's going to be at the end of the poem, so just be aware of that. Now personally, I don't offer an editorial service anymore, but if it's something that interests you because you love poetry and you want to be paid to read and edit and sort of write poetry, I 100% recommend it, and go for it. What is... I don't know. I don't even know anymore. Okay, up next, reviews. Now this is another avenue you can go down once you've built up your platform and audience. I personally get contacted weekly from people asking me to review their books, and I'm very selective of the ones that I do review, but the ones that I do decide to take on, I have a tier list of charges that I charge. Now I'm not so much charging for the review, I'm not charging for the review at all. It's more a case of charging for the time spent making a video review. Reading, reviewing, filming, editing, and then uploading. Quite simply, video reviews aren't as simple as the written review, and thus why I charge. I charge £100 for a review from cold messages, meaning people I've never met before, I've never come in contact before, I don't know them, and they just want to make the most out of my platform to get that exposure for their book. So that's the entry level tier that I charge. Then below that I charge £50 for smaller independent authors, poets who have a good engagement rate, meaning they have plenty of likes, plenty of comments, and I can see that by spending my time doing this, I will also get some of their traffic come over to my channel and possibly new subscribers. So I that's half price, that's 50% off for those creators. I feel like I haven't burped in so many videos, but now I've just done it twice. Anyway, below the £50 tier is the final tier, which is completely free. I do it completely free for people who have shown me so much support and so much love, and have been engaged with my social medias, all of my social medias across the platforms, for at least 3 months. Then I like to give back to the people who show me love, so I show them love by doing them a free review video. So with all that being said, you can clearly see that doing review videos, there's money to be made if you do it properly and take it seriously, and build up that audience, because of course you need the audience and the views for people to think, hey, yeah, I want to send this guy my book for review, and such. Okay, so we've come to the final way that you can make money as a poet. And I'm really excited about this one. Not many poets do it. You could probably say there's a reason for it, but where there's a will, there's a way. So let's talk about busking. So what is busking? Well, to put it bluntly, you find it most often in musicians and street performers, where they will stand on the street and play for tips, for money to be dropped into their case, etc, etc. But you don't see many poets doing this. But basically you take your poetry to the streets and you charge, say, £3 per poem or £1 per poem. Or I've seen some poets say pay what you think it's worth. Now, I don't think that's a very good business model personally. I can see why they do it, just to get people to come in, but people can just, drop 10p into your hat and they've got a full poem. So I would say at the minimum £1 per poem, but I would probably say £3 per poem. That would be what I would suggest to you. Now, first of all, you need to research whether your town or council have regulations for busking. You may need a license for this. I know certainly in London you need a license to street perform or busk. You may not, but you have to look this up. To avoid this, I commonly ask coffee shops or bookstores if I could have a table, some space to set up a table and offer this service. And if you take this seriously and print yourself a nice little poster that says something like poetry inside and make it all nice and fancy to put in the shop window, the shop owner is more likely to say yes, because you're driving traffic into the shop that might not necessarily be there, especially if you're just contacting a local independent coffee shop. A bookshop might just be like, well, this is going to be this is our customer traffic anyway. It's up for you to think outside the box, but take it seriously and you'll be more likely to gain access. Now, keep on your toes when negotiating with store owners. They may ask you to pay an extortionate amount of money for that space in the shop. I would contact the local independent shops and try and get the space for free. Shops just off the main street or something that will be more appreciative of the traffic you may bring into the shop by writing custom poetry for people. But keep on your toes. Some stores may try and charge extortionate rates, and know your worth. If they're trying to take advantage of you, just say, look, I appreciate it, but that's not going to work for me, and just walk out. Don't start paying £100, £200 for the day. With that being said, if it's a very popular place, we have a place called the Poetry Cafe, or if it's a very popular chain of bookstore or popular chain of a coffee shop, you may be willing to pay a minimal fee, but you have to figure out what you're going to charge per poem and work out whether it's going to be worth your time and whether you can make that up plus profit. You don't just want to break even, you want to make a profit, of course. Also, when it comes to busking in shops, don't get walked all over. Don't let them put you off in a corner somewhere where no customers are going. Be firm, be strong, and say, this is where I want to be, and you're going to want to be by the front entrance, as close to the front entrance or counter as you can, as you reasonably can. It will take some negotiating, but don't get pushed off into a corner somewhere. It won't be worth it, especially if you've paid £20-30 to be there. So that's looking at busking if you're going to be in a shop. Let's look at if you decide to take to the streets. Maybe you want to pay the license, you feel that it's worth it, or you don't need a license. How do you do that? If you're looking to take custom poetry to the street, a great way to do this is first investing in a portable typewriter. Now, my typewriter is far too heavy to do this, to take onto trains and stuff, but you can, if you want, use your laptop and invest in a portable printer. But please don't do that. You are opening yourself up to thieves, and someone can just easily swipe your hundreds of pounds, if not thousands of pounds laptop, as well as your portable printer. I don't have one, I don't know what I'm pointing at. As well as your portable printer that you've paid £100 to £200 for. So invest in a portable typewriter. So another thing you need to consider is, again, whether or not it is worth your time, whether you can make a profit. If you have found a spot that you feel you can sit in and offer custom poetry to people walking by, then do it. There is a spot in London that all us poets fight over and really want, because it is outside Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, so you can imagine everyone there coming out of Shakespeare's theatre will see this and be like, oh look, there's another London bard, let's get a poem from him. You know, it's all part of the experience. Also, you don't have to do this on the street or outside a theatre. Think about other places you can take it to, such as markets and car boots, and maybe your community has an event going on. The town I live in has something called Blackberry Fair, and you know, there's so many different avenues you can go down, so really kind of expand your mind. Yes. And so, my friends, that is my list of ways that you can make money as a poet. A lot of it requires you to think outside the box and put on a business hat, but once you get your head around it and you receive that first payment, I promise you it will all be worth it. It's such a great feeling. Please, if you like this video, like this video. It only takes a few seconds and it's completely free. Also, if I have missed any different avenues to go down to earn money from poetry, please let me know in the comments down below, because if there's another way that I don't know about, I want to know about it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It really helps me, it really grows the channel, and we are still growing really fast. I don't know how we're doing it. Well, actually I do know, because you guys are awesome. Also, as always, and now you know how helpful it is and what a struggle it is to be a poet and pay off bills with poetry, I do have merch. I'm not wearing any today, but I would really appreciate it if you went to my website, adamgary.co.uk, and maybe bought some merch. I got some framed poems, hand-typed poems. I got some clothing, of course, posters, the lot. So please, adamgary.co.uk, if you can spare a couple of pounds or dollars. That way, when the pubs open up again, I can have a beer on you. Many thanks, my friends. My name's Adam Gary, and my fans tell me off when I have a shave. See you next week.